previously on Project 320D, we got it started. And I'm so happy, honestly. I thought the valves were going to hit something because, I mean, when aren't you nervous putting an engine back together? But that all went fine. So we moved on, we got the radiator installed, we got the aircon plumbed back up. Then finally we moved on to the interior. We used the ozone generator to get rid of the smoke smell. And I can report after one more use, the smoke smell is gone. So that's an absolute win. But that's where the wins kind of stopped, because in today's video, we've got a few problems, so let's get into it.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So, it is time to carry on with the 320D. Now, I have got the coupe as promised, and I need to go ahead and get that popped in, and we also have the new drive belt, which is a big plus, because this one has the ribs on both sides, just like the old one. So, yeah, I made a mistake by ordering one with only one side with the little ribs on it, so that didn't work, so I had to get another one. And, I also need to fit the intercooler, because, well, if you want to make sure that the car's getting the proper boost reference and everything that it should be seeing during the warm-up procedure, we want to avoid as many warning lights and things as possible on the dash, so the car's as happy as can be. So that's why I've obviously got the airbox on with the MAF and everything else. So let's go ahead, throw some coolant in here and get this belt on, and I've got to connect up the exhaust as well. Connect up the exhaust so it's not so noisy, and then we will do the rest of the bleep problem. Damn problems. So this is a obviously the newly installed plug for the radiator, and as you can see I am currently draining coolant out of the system instead of putting more in. That would be because it is decided it is going to leak. The moment I put the first batch of coolant in, it decided to leak. So yeah, I can't see why. Good O-ring, etc. So yeah, I've got to figure out what the hell's going on there. Good thing I didn't put the intercooler on, because that would have been chasing weird leaks. With the intercooler off, you can easily drain the radiator, so we're doing that. You join me about an hour and a half later, and man, the problems have continued. So yeah, that plug in the radiator just kept leaking, and I tried to modify it, didn't want to work. Tried using the original from the original radiator, doesn't fit. So I've MacGyvered the hell out of this thing, and if you remember I'll quickly put the little screenshot in here. If you remember the automatic one, it's longer, but at the base of it you can put an O-ring. So what I've done is I've chopped the stalk off that to seal the bottom of the radiator. And now back to me. Now I have taken the essential little plug end that was on the manual bit, chopped that off, put a thread in it, a screw, and you can see there, just a bit of an oily bracket, but this is an old bracket that was holding a heat shield under the car that had rusted, so perfect piece of scrap. I've measured out and drilled a hole here where the automatic pickup point is. So here's my genius. On these radiators on the back, you see the little hole down there where the water's dripping out of now. So that's the automatic coolant line for your automatic gearbox. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to plug it with that. It fits in perfectly. So I've got my little bracket there, and now I have already created the thread for this little M10 bolt. It's an M8 thread, but we are going to wiggle this in place and tighten that down. Let's see. It is an absolute mess here at the moment because I'm trying to do this one-handed and that. Oh, wrong way. So the thing is, now it creates a good seal with that other little plug in place, and this bracket is now going to hold it in place when the radiator pressure builds as the car gets warm. There we go. And that should solve that problem, hopefully. So now I'm going to try throw the coolant again in the top and see how that goes. I've thrown the coolant in, and usually right about now we would have a drip. We don't seem to have a drip. And that is usually good news. Oh man, I love this. Just MacGyver the hell out of that. Ah. And for everyone wondering, oh, why don't you just send the radiator back? Unfortunately, I bought this radiator quite a few months ago, and the return window is only 30 days, and I'm way past that. Well, it has been about an hour or so. The car is now ran up to temperature. The thermostat is rated at 87 degrees. It opened at about 93, but that's fine. It's kind of the operating temperature of the car anyway, so just about 95, so just on. Oh, I had to replace a hose. So the new EGR cooler that I got with a little workable spring there, its hose sprung a leak. So I think it was just about there-ish. There was a little nick in it. And what was that side? Yes, it was this side. Somewhere here. It started to spring a little leak as soon as the coolant system was under pressure. So thank goodness I had the old one. Swapped it over. All good. The new belt I got, wrong size again. So the old one's on, so the car could obviously run the pumps, etc. The coolant system update. My little fix has got a tiny little drip. So it seems to be dripping from the thread of the screw that's coming through that little like stopper piece. So I think my plan will be to, because these little things, as you see, have got a hole through them. So what I want to do is go ahead and just chop it off. Oh, sorry, the other one's already chopped off, so it's the right size. But what I'm going to do is just fill the center with like a gasket material, just so it doesn't drip. Always do that. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Just making sure the car is running properly, just resetting some adaptations, things like that. General maintenance, just making sure that the engine's running healthy. Mainly because I want to make sure everything's good before I go ahead and put the gearbox back on. Because yeah, last thing I want is like an oil leak or something from the engine, especially the back of the timing case, that kind of stuff. But nope, 100% dry, no leaks. The rear main isn't leaking either, so we're good to go. We can put the clutch on, put the gearbox on, go from there. You know, sort of a little drip, and then the coolant system's good. The fuel system is properly bled out now, so the car literally starts on the button, so that's fantastic. So I'm well impressed with this. It's just been a good day throughout. Things have worked, even though they were a pain in the butt. They're working. Alright, I am doing a little quick bit here because I am in the process of getting the flywheel and everything all sorted out. Okay, cool. Obviously, new clutch, new pressure plate, sorry. Old pressure plate, old clutch and flywheel. And we can all agree that this old clutch is well used. And an original as well. I decided, hey ho, because the chattering noise from the car sounded like it was obviously a flywheel problem, so hence why I'm replacing it. But I've gone ahead and, as you can see, just slipped the clutch onto the spline there so I could rotate it. And do you hear that noise? Yeah, that's fucked. That gearbox is... wow. So... I need to find a gearbox now. Time to hit Marketplace, I suppose. See if someone's got a damn gearbox that I can go pick up, because that other one's trash, and it's going to become a very expensive paperweight. Well, the good thing is that this car will last a long time. Touch wood. Because if it doesn't, boy, am I going to be pissed. So the video's taken a weird turn. So obviously, you know, the gearbox is toast. So what we're doing now is, well, I'm revealing the replacement gearbox, because I checked out Facebook Marketplace and I managed to find one for £60, which is great news considering everything else online is like 150. So go check out the gearbox. You know, it all looks good, turns over, doesn't make any weird funny noises. So hey ho. And the guy says to me, oh hey, I have a second one. If you want that as well, you can have that as well for £60, literally both. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to need another gearbox for. And he's like, maybe you got another project. And I was like, maybe I do. So I essentially got two gearboxes of £60. Right there. There's the old toast one. There's our two new ones. They're literally identical boxes. So I cannot believe that. I am actually ecstatic about that. That's a fantastic deal. Two boxes for £60. Can't pass that up. So yeah, time to, I suppose, get it fitted. But not today, because it's dark and it's about, gosh, what is the time? And it's about 7:30. So yeah, it's probably not the time to try and fit a gearbox. So yeah, we'll leave that for the weekend maybe. So as you know, we obviously picked these up, and I'm going to choose this one. I've already gone ahead and pulled the little clutch release fork and bearing out there. It's got a liberal coating of grease there and obviously everywhere needed, but I just want to obviously make sure all this is cleaned up and ready to accept the new one. So just a little smear of grease there, and then on these little points. Which side? Oh, there we go. That side there. Just over there. And then the tiniest bit just here on the shaft itself, just so nothing seizes. But other than that, we're good. Oh, I think this box has the broken reverse sensor. And yes, I am right, it does over there. So we'll take the known working one off the broken box, swap those over. We're making some progress. Now I've obviously gone ahead and cleaned up the box. You might not be able to tell on camera, but it's cleaner than it was. I've obviously put the new fork and release bearing in place. I've gone ahead and greased the shaft itself. You don't want to grease this collar here, because this will cause the fork and the bearing to actually stick. Obviously behind each of these little indents, it's greased behind there, so the little pin on that side is greased, and the slave cylinder will be greased as well for that side. Before I shove that back in, I need to get the wires that are sitting, see the one up there? Yeah, the little silver clip? Yeah, those wires up there are for the gearbox, for a little reverse sensor and whatever that sensor is there. I don't know, maybe it's a neutral sensor. So the car knows it's a neutral, so it can... Yeah, that would actually make sense, because we've got a reverse sensor on the side, and then our neutral sensor there, aka that one. And that will let the car know that it's actually in neutral, so the stop-start thing works, because these cars have auto stop-start when in neutral. I've also gone ahead and put the new belt tensioner on, because the old one rattled and chattered around quite badly, actually. So we've finally got that situated with the new belt, and we need this little cap here for... Oh, let's do it from underneath. Well, I've not managed to make any progress because I have lost the bolts somehow for the pressure plate that help it bolt to the actual flywheel. So the bolts that obviously run through here, the ones I had to drill off the old flywheel because they didn't want to work. And there we go. That's what I'm looking for. These essentially. So yeah, my new ones are just nowhere to be found, and I have turned this garage upside down looking for them. So yeah, they're nowhere to be found. So I'm changing tactic, and I am going to work on the rear suspension. I've got new little mounts here for the rear shocks and bump stops, etc., because the existing ones are absolutely toast. So we go ahead and have a look here. You'll see, yeah, they're non-existent. And the existing little rubber mounts down here, I don't trust them. So yeah, I'm getting that done. And in addition to that, I have to replace this arm here. Well, if you're curious as to how bad the old one is, let me show you. Yeah, it's pretty toast. It's not supposed to move like that. If you compare it to our new one, yeah, good luck with that. Solid. Oh well, out with the trash, in with the new stuff. Well, it is late afternoon, hence the ridiculous reflection coming off the car. And I eventually have the bolts for the flywheel, and I am in the process of making a specialized little tool, which is a 10mm extension socket with insulation tape wrapped around the end. And the idea is that slots in there, and then the clutch fits on top. So if we do it like so, here we go. Gearbox end. Slide that in. Nice and snug. Drop it in, and then that holds our clutch in place. And we can go ahead and put the pressure plate over, and then we've got enough to actually use one of the ridiculously large torque spares to remove the pressure plate off. Right, so here we are in place. You can see we've got a little bit of movement, just up and down. So to eliminate that, I'm just going to put maybe just a few wraps around the shaft of the end of the socket there, just where it fits into the flywheel, just so it fits nice and snug, just to avoid any bit of misalignment there. Okay, that's holding a lot better. As you can see, that's nice and centered now. What I did is just put literally just one wrap around the 10mm socket, and now it fits perfectly snug. So fantastic, and it's easy to take out. That's the entire point. The last thing you want to do is have an awful time trying to take that out. Now let's pop out our clutch, and well, it's already been prepped with brake clean, so it's all good. Both surfaces, just so you know. And a few hours of struggle later, it is
in. Well, the gearbox anyway. Clutch and everything lined up fine. The gearbox was giving me an absolute fight. Turned out I had to clear the threads on a few of the holes up top there. A little bit of the RTV gasket had got in there and stopped the bolts from going in properly, so yeah, I had to pull the gearbox off again, clean those, and then I could put it all back in, and hey, it worked. Starter I just tied up out the way just so I could obviously position the gearbox